Jesse G, where the possibilities never end.
Hi everyone, welcome to Creative Squirrel Studios. It's a fun creative twist where creatives get together, chat, get, the insider scoop and ultimately just squirrel the fuck out. I have my good friend here, Tiffany. We've known each other, I want to say for maybe 5 or 6 years, maybe even more. And Tiffany, bottom of my heart, the first time we met, I was like, this girl, she's a creative like me. We're both born with it, and it's one of those things that we hold it so passionately that it's just, we even do it for free sometimes. Tiffany is not only does creative design as far as like painting, drawing, or just digital creative, but she's also a super passionate creative writer. She did this podcast called say it again, Tiff.
Script and sip.
Script and sip. Yes, my apologies on that. Tongue twister for me,
Yeah.
but it was an insider scoop of what it is to actually be in the creative flow as far as writing a script. And I'm just gonna give a little insider scoop of when we did this. It was talking about Abbott Elementary. Before then, I had no idea what it was, and when she gave kind of like instructions of just watch the first episode. I that's my guilty pleasure now. Whenever I'm having a rough day, I toss it on. From moving on from that Zoom call that we had. And I really enjoyed that Tiffany not only has the creative juices going, but she could break it down so analytically that it just like, dude, that how it all just connects like a puzzle piece. It is beautiful. But Tiff, please give us a little bit more insider scoop of, who you are and just, yeah, your creativity.
Oh, that's awesome. And thank you so much, Jessica. This is amazing. I'm so proud of you and just so excited to be a part of this. I am an author. I just finished my first novel. I'm working on finishing a YA novel, which is going to be a part of a series. All of my work that I currently do is centered around people of color and experiences of people of color. A lot of the writing I do is either horror because we don't see a lot of horror in the POC space. It's starting to get more, but starting to write a lot more horror in both novel form, short story form, and also script form.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for a lot of the things that are coming that I have in the pipeline, and hopefully we'll be able to see them on both the small screen and the big screen very, very soon. And hopefully the novels will be able to purchase in store very, very soon as well.
Tiff, well, I'm throwing it out there in existence. It will happen. It's not an if, it
Yes,
will
we're
happen.
on our way. We're on
Um,
our way.
Yeah. So I have a couple questions for you in regards to just pretty much your creative process and more of like,
Mhm.
not only the creativity is like creative digitally, but your creative script life too.
Mhm.
So I'll go ahead and ask the first question. As a creative writer, what's the first thing you look for in a story that makes it worth telling?
Great question. And I think one of the first things I look for is one, authenticity is probably the number one thing. It can be a story that has been told before, it can be a story that is completely unique, but if it's not authentic, then it's really not worth telling. And I think we see that in a lot of different forms of media nowadays where some things don't feel as authentic. A lot of stuff feels very scripted. So the first thing I look for is authenticity. And then I also try to look for a different angle. So, like I said, a lot of my work is based around people of color and the experience of people of color. Um, so, really finding the proper voice for that. So, the novel that I currently have coming out is based around Haitian folklore, which we do not see a lot of. And I was
Yeah.
able to get a consultant to help me with the language for that. They were also able to help me with kind of even the broken English parts of it all. And that is extremely important to me so that
Yeah.
it lends to that authenticity so that people feel seen when they're
Yeah.
reading it, and that also people are exposed to things that maybe they did not
Yeah.
know about or things that they weren't exposed to. But I want that experience to be authentic to the people that I'm writing about or the experience that I'm writing about. So authenticity is probably the number one thing um,
Yeah.
that makes a story worth telling, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. And I kind of want to like jump on that too a little bit because this is something that I've been experiencing with like other companies that, I work
Hmm.
with. Um, because it's always I always tell them like it's about the foundation as far as like
Yes.
brand, right?
Hmm.
It's not like don't get me wrong, the aesthetics are important too, but if the foundation is not clear, especially the authenticity of your story, then readers can see it. Not only like just creatives that are in that field, but
Yeah.
like their client profiles, their clients that are or they're trying to get to, they can
Hmm.
see it. And what
Yep.
is your take on that? Do you think they can see it? And if they
Oh,
can, yeah,
100%. How often have, like, I know, and this may sound crazy, but I know that there have been times in my life where I go into a situation and I'm just not vibing with a person, and I'm like really trying to understand, like, what is it? Like, they were perfectly nice, they were this, they were that, there's really nothing. And then like I run through everything in my head and I think back to it, I'm like, oh, it didn't feel like I was seeing their true self. It didn't
yeah,
seem like they were being authentic. And there are times when I go in situations where I don't come away feeling good because I don't feel like I was my authentic self.
yeah,
And so I absolutely think that people can see that. And I think that that's how brands set themselves apart, is by feeling very real and authentic. And when it doesn't feel authentic, I absolutely think people pick up on that. And I think it's a natural tendency to like stray away from brands
yeah.
like that because you're like, I don't know. It feels like there's a hidden agenda when they're not coming off authentically.
Yeah, that's one of the things I do tend to like tell like clients is like the last thing a client wants to feel is that they're
Hmm.
being sold on something. They
Yes.
like salesy, right?
Yep.
And sales do get a bad rep on that in regards
Yeah.
to like, they're just a number. And it's like, no. Like me as like someone that want if I put myself in the shoes of the client, I want
Yeah.
to be heard. I want to be
Exactly.
understood. And not only that, I want to know like what are your intentions? Are you really
Yeah.
here for me to help me? Or are you here just because,
Exactly.
it adds me to the
Am
quota?
I your, yeah, you're like, I'm not just here as like to benefit you. It should be mutually beneficial. And when it doesn't feel like a mutual beneficial thing, that's where that like you're like, this
Hmm.
doesn't feel right. And it doesn't feel like a good fit. So
Yeah.
again, yeah, it boils down to that authenticity of like if a brand is saying something like that, they're like, or if a brand doesn't feel like they're actually there for the customer or something like that,
Yeah.
it feels fake and that's not authentic, you know?
No, 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 no. And I think that kind of trails back to building that foundation, right? Before it even
Yes.
lands to aesthetics.
Yep.
It's always go back to your why. Why are you doing this? Who
Yep.
you are, mission statement, the whole nine, right?
Exactly.
And a lot of times it's not the prettiness, but it's the structure. It's definitely the
Yes.
structure that has to go back to it.
Yep.
Um, hmm. So I kind of want to go back to the more of like the creative side of it because I we talked about like the business side of it, like why it's really important. But for
Yeah.
those who are in the creative field,
Hmm.
and this kind of hits both not only the storytellers or anything, just in general, what for you has worked when it comes to hitting like that creative wall?
Mm. I hit creative walls literally on the daily. And a lot of times, I have to, when I do hit a creative wall, I oftentimes have to pivot to something else.
Yeah.
So for instance, that's why for me, it works for me because I have multiple projects going on all the time. So for instance, if I am not feeling revising the adult novel that I'm working on, then I'll switch to the YA novel. If I'm not feeling that, then I'll switch to digital illustration and I'll start working on, a piece of art or something. And sometimes you do just need to take a step back and take a break. Um, because you can like creative walls, creative blocks are a thing. So I find that pivoting, um, taking some time away from the project, stepping away from it, I find often helps with those blocks. And then doing something, even if it's not something creative, like I find that even filling the time that you would have filled with creativity with something like a walk,
Yeah.
something that gives you the ability to just be and gives you
Hmm.
the ability to just let your mind wander for a little bit because I feel like we're so on all the time. We're trained to be on all the time. So allowing yourself just to like relax. I listen to ASMR a lot.
Yeah.
I will play with my cats or my
Yeah.
rabbit, because a lot of times it just gives you some perspective because, these are, you know, parts of your family that need you. I
Yeah.
will talk to my family, like I'll talk to my son or I'll talk to my sister, talking to people that understand the creative process, and understand what it's like to hit those walls. I think that those are all good things, good
Yeah.
outlets to help you kind of when you do hit those walls because they can be jarring and
Yeah.
they can be like, oh, like, what do I
And
do? You feel so
yeah.
stuck. You feel so
And
stuck.
I think this might be like a hot take, but I was recently talking to, and when I mean recently, like 2 days ago, I was talking to another creative in regards to this of like, what is their take on remote, hybrid, or going
Mm,
fully into office? And very creative. And I said,
yes.
going into fully office, like don't get me wrong, there's just perks, right? Because you get to mingle with other people. But for me personally, I was like, I've noticed that when I'm fully there, I tend to get drained because whenever I'm in the sauce, I'm in the zone of
Yes.
something, there could be a distraction. There could be
Yeah.
something, right?
Mhm.
Whereas if I'm home or hybrid, the days that I am home and I'm in the sauce of it, last thing I want, I'm like tunnel vision, right? I'm going through
Literally.
it. And if I, for some reason, the creative flow just stops, I have my mechanisms here that work perfectly, whether it's busting out, my drawing pad, calling up a friend, going for a walk, sitting, being a lizard, because, we're both in Arizona,
I
but being a
agree.
lizard and take the sun, just like bathe me for a little bit and just kind of
Mm,
like reset, right?
hmm.
And I think that's something that I've been noticing that's kind of being misunderstood within our creative fields is how important it is for us to reset. Um,
Oh my goodness.
just because, yeah, our minds are constantly going, whether it's figuring it out analytically, or even emotionally, right? And
Yeah.
all that's here and it's not really tangible, right? It can't really be tracked because there's times where I'm just sitting here, there's a creative project, and I'm like staring at the screen
Yeah.
for maybe like a whole hour. My mouse
Yep.
isn't moving, but this is going. If there was steam
A
coming out, you could
mile.
see it.
I'd be telling people it's GTA up in here. Like it's Grand Theft Auto in here.
Yeah, yes. Cue in Fast and Furious theme
There's
song,
so much going on. Like, and it doesn't stop. So it's
No.
like, yeah, I totally agree. And the
Yeah.
thing about um having your own space is that and going into a space that is not yours is that there's a lot of variables. And like at in your own space, you can set it up exactly the way that you want it to. And you can do that somewhat, if you have a desk at work, but you know, they change desks a lot at work. Like there's all sorts of stuff happening. There's people, there are so many distractions, so many variables. Energy vampires are a real thing when it comes to that, and that just depletes everything from you. And being able to be in a space that is customized to your workflow where you won't be distracted, is extremely important. So I agree. I absolutely hear what you're saying and I agree.
Yeah, there's so this is totally squirrel moment right now because it just popped into my head. Um, what is your thoughts on doing KPIs on creatives?
Oh, I'm not a fan of KPIs in general. Like that is one way to lose me. Um, I'm not a fan of KPIs. Like the thing is, I do, and some people really like being able to compare their numbers. I start to get obsessive about it, and I just like it I stop worrying about the work and worry about the numbers. So for me, it doesn't work,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially in creativity. If somebody had put KPIs on any of the projects that I'd be failing miserably. And I just don't feel like you should feel like a failure within a creative space, you know? So I'm not a fan of KPIs in anywhere in life, but especially not with creativity, just because
Yeah.
um there are ways you can rein in creativity, of course. There are ways you can set um, goals, deadlines, and things like that for yourself. But as far as KPIs go, I would not be a fan of those, and I would probably side eye anybody who would try to put a KPI on a creative.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think it's like something that you should do.
No, and
I feel like that's
I
the one thing that creatives should be allowed is not having stuff like that.
no, because everything in regards to the just the creative field in general, like it's very difficult to put like track something like that because one week and I'm gonna come from one week I'm designing, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 different flyers with social media email campaigns, and then next week it's like one,
Yep.
you know, but just
Mm-hmm.
because, you know what I mean, it still has the same momentum, you know what I
Yeah.
mean,
Yep.
but it just looks differently. The creative process, the still the passion that is being put into it, it's still there. It's just
Yep.
every week, every day looks different. And it's so hard for, in my experience, it's been so hard to kind of track that. And if
Absolutely.
anybody has found a way to do it, like let me know because it
Me
hasn't
too.
worked for me. Right?
No.
No.
No, no, no.
And I'm all for goals, all for it. Like
Yes.
I love in my personal life, I love doing like, you know, smart goals and like doing
Yes.
like things like that. All for that, right? Releasing weight,
Yes.
the whole nine. I'm all for that.
Yes.
But when it comes to creativeness, um, oh man, I heard this the other day. Creativity doesn't work if you're trying to control.
Yes.
Creativity works when you just allow things to flow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the same thing too, like I remember I got asked the other day, like, how is it that you're so passionate in what you do? And I was like, because I'm creating.
Yeah.
This, as long as you keep creating, like that's when passion, for me, passion just like, it's there.
Exactly.
And I could even hear it from you when you talk about it too. Like, yeah, she's super passionate, which because she understands it.
Yeah.
Um, the whole everything that goes into it, right? The blood,
And I
sweat,
feel
and
like
tears.
and if you want to and if people want to put KPIs on a creative or essentially like basically monetize a creative, then you need to reframe it as something like a SMART goal or something that doesn't feel like you're being put inside of a box, something doesn't feel like you're being stifled. Because whenever I hear of KPIs, it feels like the creativity is coming from the person. So it feels like you're monetizing me as a person and utilizing me for your benefit. Whereas I'm like, oh no, the creatives are for your benefit, but the stuff that comes out of me is like, this is just what I do. So
Yeah,
like, you can't put that on a person because it's the person that's going to be pumping this stuff out. So,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and the quality I feel like is going to be affected if you don't reframe it in some way that doesn't feel like it's being stifled, because then I'm going to be so worried about the business side of things that I won't be able to focus on my creativity.
Yeah. Yeah, and that doesn't, it won't, you can't balance that, right?
Mm-mm.
Everything's in balance. And when it's so worried, it's like, well, you can't see my other hand, but it starts,
Exactly.
yeah. The other hand went off screen.
But it was going low and I know where it
Yeah.
went. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because
Oh,
that
yeah.
imbalance.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm glad we touched on that because that's something that I've always been kind of curious on, especially like in more in the in creative writing. Like,
Yes.
can you put a KPI on that? And in my
I'm
experience for
sure
like,
you can. I'm
yeah,
sure there's authors out there who have to, have to pump out a certain amount of books. I don't know how they do that. If you find somebody if you find a creative that does like KPIs and stuff like that, I would love to meet them because if they have found a way to work that into their creative process, then more
yeah,
power to them, you know?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, same for me too. Like as a brand strategist, graphic designer and all that, like if there's someone out there that does know how to do a KPI on us, then
Show me your ways.
yeah, show me them ways. Let me see the receipts. I'm just kidding.
Yes, because I would love to be able to have expertise in so many things as well as being able to,
Yeah,
pump out good quality stuff with a
yeah,
KPI goals and things like that. But
yeah.
right now, mm-mm.
Mm-mm, no. Um, well, going back to more of like the creative writing, I did want to ask you because this is one of the big questions that I was like, oh, like this is the meat and the potatoes type of thing. When you sit down and write, are you more of a planner or do you tell the story or let the story discover itself as you go?
I definitely let the story tell itself as it goes. I am trying to be more of a planner. Like I do, for instance, like for most of my projects, I do have a outline.
Yeah,
I very rarely follow that outline. I'm trying to get better about doing that because I do see there's some people who are like, if you have an outline, it just goes so much faster. I'm like, I don't know how. Um, but I do wish I were an outline and plan person. But for me, I need to be able to pivot if an idea comes into my head. Oftentimes, like if an idea comes up about one of my books or one of my stories or one of my scripts, and I'm out and about, I have my notes app. I have so many notes in there about things that I want to add into stories. It could be you know, a story that I have not created. It could be a part of the story that I'm not even at yet. So if I'm like, oh, I think I know the ending to the way this story is gonna, I think I figured out how this story is gonna end. I'll
yeah.
keep that in my notes app, and then I will find a way
Mhm.
to then link, where I'm at in the story to that ending. So I need to have that freedom to be able to do that. I think you could still do that with an outline. I don't think and you can still do that with planning. Um, but I currently don't plan. I will, that is one of my goals to try and get better at because I do see the benefit in it.
Yeah,
But currently, no, I am a
yeah,
total like wing it like I'm going to tell the story as it comes up in my head. I'm going
yeah,
to pivot if I think of a different idea. So it's a very chaotic way
yeah,
of working, but right now it works really well for me, and I feel like I've gotten some really good stuff out. But with
yeah,
planning, I do feel like I don't know that I would have been able to get the stuff out sooner, just because a lot of the stuff that came to me in due time,
yeah,
and I don't think I could have planned for that. Um, so I don't plan currently, but
yeah.
I do see the benefit in it. So I'm going to try and figure out how to work that into my process and my workflow.
Yeah. And there's two things that came to mind, but
Mm,
before I get to those, I actually want to get into the following question. That kind of already just blends in so beautifully. And you
mm,
set it up. So girlfriend, you're the master planner in this one.
love
Um,
that.
yeah. What's the one message you'd give to someone who feels like they have a story inside them, but is too afraid to write it out?
That is, I, if you can't write it out, then find a writer that will write it out for you. I always recommend and also if you can't write it out, then record yourself talking about your story. And for instance, like my brother, he has excellent ideas. He is so creative. His story ideas are incredible and so unique, but he is like,
Yeah.
I am not a writer. In the past, what he has done is he's gone on Fiverr and
Hmm.
he actually like, paid like a small amount to get his story written out or to get it kind of planned out. Now he just utilizes me and my sister to write out his stories.
Yeah.
So I always recommend like get it out somehow. And if you don't have somebody that you trust, um, my sister and I are also, that's our the business that we've created is actually to help people who don't feel like they can write out a story, to help them get their stories out because we truly see the importance of it. But yeah, if you can't do it yourself, then speak it. So
Yeah.
record yourself talking about your story. It doesn't have to be word for word, just talk about the concept. If you have somebody that you love and trust that is a writer, give the story to them so they can write it out.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, then pay somebody, a small fee to write it out. But regardless, get it out because
Yeah.
I just feel like there are so many untold stories that are award winning. They're Oscar worthy screenplays in somebody's head right now.
Yeah.
There are Nobel Prize winning, like, what do you call them? Essays in
Yeah.
somebody's head right now. So if you have a story, if you have an opinion, anything, I just say somehow get it on paper. If you can't do it yourself, find some way to get it on paper. Find somebody around you is a writer and they can help you get it on paper. So just try to get it out of your head and get it somewhere. That way
Yeah.
it is documented, and that's the first step. Getting it out of your head is the absolute first step. So
Yeah.
if you can do that, then you are actually 100 steps ahead of other people if you can at least just get it out of your head into some form of media, whether it's just you recording it on your phone,
Yeah.
um, if it's you recording it in your notes, if it's you connecting with somebody who can write it down for you, just get it out, and that you
Yeah.
are like 10 steps ahead of everybody else.
Oh my God. And it's true. As soon as and right now that you've said like even recording yourself, I was like, yes.
Hmm.
There's been so many times where like even just besides just like, business creative,
Yes,
even you're going through a pickle, record yourself.
all
Listen,
of
get
it.
it all out there. The worst thing you could do is, hold it in. And especially when it's
Yes.
something like a creative endeavor, get it
Hmm.
out. And I was like,
Yeah.
because you never know, like the ripple effect that you can cause, right? The
Yes.
people you're gonna reach that really needs to hear your message.
Literally.
Um, and that's such a beautiful thing to also include your community, right?
Yes.
Just to get them to see the inside of you of what makes you creatively spark.
Yes.
Um, and that's just, oh man, Chat GPT, AI can't buy that.
Literally, they cannot. And that's the
Yeah,
thing, like, just utilize anything that you can just to get it out because I feel like there are so many people and that was kind of the birth of why my sister and I started creating this company, Zabi, is because there, we would talk to so many people.
yeah,
Literally everybody that we encountered has a story, something unique, something we
yeah,
hadn't heard before, something just about their life and just learning about like the people that we cared about. Like, for instance, you just learning about you and your journey. Like, everybody has a story, and it doesn't have to be this, fantastical story. You can turn it into that if you want it to,
yeah.
but everybody has a story that is relatable.
Hmm.
Everybody has a story that other people can learn from, other people can heal from, other people
Yeah,
just need to like know that somebody else is going through something similar, or they need to know that somebody went through something completely unique, and we all need to hear it because we're like, what? Like,
yeah.
how? Wait a second. Like, what did you go through? Like, we all need like hearing those things. You're like, whoa, like, and that helps us in the human experience. It just helps
Yeah,
us to connect. It helps us to provide more empathy to one another. It helps us to
Yeah.
provide um, just more like everything. It just feeds into all of our emotions and all of our, you know, desire to live, you know.
Ugh,
So it really
yeah.
does getting it on paper, getting it out, talking to people. I mean, that is the biggest thing that you can do if you do have a story to tell, and everybody has a story to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. Either personally or even businesses, right?
Yes,
Like that's one of the things that like recently I told another business of like, why wouldn't you tell like that you give back to communities, you know?
literally.
And I get the whole being humble and I get that too. But I was like
Hmm.
the amount of people that would love to work with you because you give back to XYZ communities, right?
Yes.
Like and like now that I'm barely finding out that you do this, like it not only do I love you already, but I love you times 10 because like you're already in the flow of giving back. And then it's just a continuous flow. Um
Every business starts for a reason.
yeah.
Even if the reason is I started to prove people wrong, or I started because there was nothing like this, or I started because I couldn't find this resource for my loved one. Like every
Yeah.
company
Yeah.
has a story and a reason for why they are and why it became, you
Yeah.
know? So, I mean, this goes for people, businesses, animals, everybody. Like anything
Yeah.
can be inclusive and anything has a story. Even buildings have stories to tell.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to make sure I recollect everything from what I understood. It's very much your why. Go back
Mm-hmm.
to the why.
Yeah.
Get it out there and go with
Mm-hmm.
the flow.
Yes.
Especially and the flow within like each personal person, right? Like go
Yeah.
within your flow.
Mm-hmm.
And a big thing that I keep hearing with throughout our conversation is, and I said it earlier too before we jumped on, is it doesn't have to look a certain way, right? It could look a million different ways, because the way that it's looking for, like for me, for example, and the way it's looking for Jessie, that's her
Yep.
story. That's part of her
Mm-hmm.
journey. That's part of her story. Same with with you, Tiff, or even businesses, right? They're doing it
Yes.
different. That's cool. Do it. Keep
Yeah.
going because then that becomes
Mm-hmm.
part of your story of your why. Um,
Yes.
wow. Oh, Tiff, you and I can go on for hours, girlfriend, and
Yes.
we
And
probably
we will,
will.
and the
Yeah,
thing is, we will have so many, we'll have so much more time in the future. Our lives are
always.
forever connected.
Yeah, always. Yeah. But I do want to respect the time here and let everybody know that if there's something that resonating with you, or if you want to connect with Tiff, I'll put all of her contact information at the bottom. Tiff, it's been such an honor and a privilege that you jumped on here and then that we continue to still
You,
connect.
thank you.
And the fact that we got an opportunity to squirrel out,
Yes,
that's my cup of coffee I need for the day. So thank you.
same. I feel very much filled, and I feel very much, what is it when you get like energy vampires take from you, but there's like something where you get filled back up.
Yeah.
Rejuvenated is not the word, but
Yeah.
like I feel very full right now, and as I always do whenever I connect with you.
Oh, I appreciate that, Tiff. Well, we'll definitely have to do another podcast here soon because there's more I want to pick your brain, or else this
Same.
would turn into a series.
Listen, me and my sister are gonna have to do something with you because I want to learn. I want to know more about what you're doing, and I need more insight from you as well.
Absolutely. All right, Tiff. Well, thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate it. And yeah,
you.
please, everybody, follow my girl. She has so much insight and so many like beautiful things that are going to come up that you don't want to miss out on. So I very much appreciate it. Tiff, if you want to say anything, last final thoughts, by all means, take it away. If not, we'll call it a day.
Jess, you said it all. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, it is such a pleasure. I'm so proud of you and everything that you're doing as well. I cannot wait for you to like, it's only up from here. And I just know like it's, I already know your star is like, it's already shining. Now it's just going to be a shining star.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, Tiff. Love you very much.
You. Love
We'll connect
you.
soon. Bye,
Same.
everybody.
Bye.